Hello, everybody. Welcome to the big game Super Bowl weekend. Yes, we are finally here.
Yes.
As excited as we are, that means football's over with, which kind of stinks, but whatever. Welcome to the BSB. I am Sean Cows. As always, we are joined by my brother, Tony James.
Howdy,
How you doing,
cows.
brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fan-fucking-tastic. We are your betting strategy brothers. What's new with you this weekend, Tony?
Well, it was nice that I didn't have to worry about losing any football bets this weekend, but like you said, it's the Super Bowl, which is a really it's a fun event. It's the biggest game on the calendar. And then the downside is around 7:30, 8 o'clock, we realize, we got to wait another 6.5 months to watch football again. But we're going to enjoy it while it's here. And we have lots to talk about tonight.
Agreed. And, even though we've got so much time off from football, we are going to talk about baseball. We're going to talk about hockey. We're going to talk about basketball bets. So you guys will not be deprived of the BSB. So that is a good thing. And we are excited to dive in the other sports. You can see I'm wearing my Sabres stuff, even though I still got my Bill stuff on. So that will be good. And another thing that is the reason the Super Bowl is probably my favorite game of the year, no matter who's playing, no matter what's going on, I have the most bets that day than I do any other day, because I do prop bets like we did last weekend, and I do silly prop bets like last weekend, and this weekend I'm gonna have a ton of prop bets on the game, and I don't have that many during the week on games. Even like there's no comparison. So it is by far the funnest day of football for me, even though that means at the end of the night it's over for months, but it's by far the fun. I mean, there's just so many bets going on.
And it's not even just bets, right? I mean, this is going to be a little bit different this year because we're probably all going to be watching individually at our own houses. But if you're at a party, you have bets on the side there. You got Super Bowl squares here. You've got Super Bowl squares at other places. There's always some sort. I think we were just talking before we started about sports teams doing fundraisers with Super Bowl squares, which is super cool because it's a way to make some easy money and it keeps people interested. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm going to have a ton of bets going on, and shoot, I'm going to have to write them down just to keep track of them. But yeah, it is a fun day for sure. It is an event, man. It's an event.
It is. And I wish I haven't. I have been looking. I have not found. I think there needs to be a prop bet of will this be the most watched Super Bowl of all time so far, and I think it's going to be. And maybe that's not why there. Maybe that's why there isn't a prop bet for it, because how can it not be with so many people now watching at home and nothing to do, and they're all quarantined and whatever. So. Yeah, I'm excited. But before we get into those bets or whatever, let's talk about our flavors of the week. As usual, we got to start with what we're drinking, because you can't watch sports without drinking. I mean, you can, but it's just not as fun.
I agree.
So, I went to the store and I wanted to get 805. I remember last week, I don't know if you remember, I said, I was thinking 805, and then I saw the Kachina. I had to grab it, right? Because even though my Sabres are my number one team, I am a big fan of the Coyotes. So I got that. So this week I went to get it. I said, okay, I'm going to do 805. This week I'm doing 805. Yeah, they were out. Believe it or not, they were out. So I went to my backup for that I had in mind. And one of my favorite beer, one of the most underrated beers in my mind, is the banquet beer. The original Coors. It's kind of like, it's on the same level of Budweiser, whereas regular Budweiser is very underrated, just like original Coors is very underrated. And I think Coors is better than Budweiser, but I think they're both good beers, and they're just underrated. They get bad raps, and people won't buy them. And especially when everything's light. And you guys have heard me say I love Labatt Blue Light. It's my favorite beer. But every once in a while, you don't want a light beer, but you don't want to go so heavy into the ales. That's where original Coors or a Budweiser would come into effect. But I love original Coors, so I went with the banquet beer.
Man, you bring that up, and I think back in the day, like when I was 10 or 11, I shared, I think that was the first beer I shared with my old man was a Coors Banquet beer in the skinny yellow can. So yeah, those are good ones. I went back in the machine as well today, and I went back to one from our first week with the Four Peaks Peach out of Tempe, Arizona. It's light, it's refreshing, it's crisp, and to be honest, I think they're close to expiring, and I really need to get rid of them. And so I'm going to get rid of them fast. So that's what I'm doing.
I'm not a big peach fan, but I do love Four Peaks. They are quality brewery. So I'm with you there.
Right on. All right.
So before we get into a bets, we each picked a team, and we said, what can they do to win? Now, we're not saying this is going to happen. We're not saying that we think this is going to happen. We're saying for them to win, this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So because of my hatred for Tom Brady, Tony's going to take Tampa Bay and say this is how they can win. I would take KC, even though they disrespected my Bills. I'm still going to take them and say how they can win. And then we're going to get into our bets, what we're going to put our money on, what we think is going to happen. So, sure. Tony, enlighten us on how Tampa Bay can win this game.
Well, Tampa Bay's got they're playing at home, which is interesting. But there is a possibility that the weather's going to play a role. And there's not going to be that many fans there. So it's a home game. It's a quote home game.
Well, and first time ever, it's a home game in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the 49ers played at Stanford once and the Rams played at the Rose Bowl, but nothing like playing in your home stadium, correct, right? So it's going to be a different kind of vibe there. But it's still a football game. Tampa Bay has to win the time of possession battle. They have to. They have to keep Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City offense off the field. If they give Mahomes multiple opportunities, he will take advantage of them. He will. The Bucs have done a great job of scoring points. And I know it's like, well, of course they have. They won 3 games in a row. But they put up 30 points plus every single game. And they've made the most of their opportunities. And for them, and what you found in that Green Bay game is the Bucs got up big, like 28-10, I believe it was. But then they turned the ball over a couple times, and they had a couple of punts that they gave up, and Rodgers had opportunities, and the game became an 8-point game very, very quickly. They can't do that this week.
And Tampa Bay is 10th is in the top 10 for scoring points. So, I mean, absolutely, they're going to score some points.
They have to keep Mahomes off the field, and the way that they're going to do that is they're going to have to establish a run. Leonard Fournette's going to have a huge game. He leads the postseason in yards from scrimmage in this postseason. They need to keep him involved. And we need to see Brady go to being the game manager, dink and dunk, short pass, quote, West Coast offense Brady.
Which has been his weakness. That's been his weakness. He, believe it or not, him being 90 years old, the dink and dunk has not worked well for him. He's gotten those overpasses that have been good. But I think you're right on that, though. He needs to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that goes back to Coach Arians' philosophy, right? Risk it, no biscuit. So, they've been throwing the deep ball. He's been throwing the deep ball this year a lot more. And, we saw at the end of the first half in the Green Bay game, that last touchdown to Miller was a 40-yard pass. But they have to keep Mahomes off the field. When Mahomes is on the field, they need to pressure the quarterback. Tampa Bay was among the league leaders in quarterback pressures this year, and they need to keep that up. Now the downside to that is Mahomes is really good at improvising. Like him and Josh Allen are probably the best. So they need to pressure Mahomes. They need to pressure him into bad decisions. If they do that, they're going to have a good chance. They have to contain either Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. I don't know if they can do both. And that's why I say or. It's almost like when you're playing the Lakers, right? And you've got LeBron James and you got Anthony Davis. One of them's getting points. Go take the other one out. The Buccaneers need to do that. And that's going to be a challenge because their defense is 21st against the pass. It is number 1 against the rush.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to say right there to add to what you're saying. JPP has to have a great game. I mean, he's got to have a phenomenal game, and that's another thing that's going to lead to the Tampa Bay win.
Yeah, and the secondary needs to step up. I mean, and they've gone. I mean, look at the quarterbacks they've gone against in the last 2 weeks. You know, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's like. I mean, you got 2 Hall of Famers right there, and now they're going against Patrick Mahomes, who's just elevating quarterback play like in the past 3 seasons. I mean, I was just talking about this today with one of my buddies. I think he plays quarterback like point guard. And
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Well, they are calling him the baby goat. They're saying this is the goat versus the baby goat. So
I hate those, man.
I do too. I do too. But that's what they're saying. I hate it. But in I mean, in a way, they kind of have a point in where they're saying, all right, Brady is the greatest, and whether we can argue that he is or he isn't. In my mind, this year definitely elevated him to close, but I've always said it's been Peyton, but whatever. But Mahomes is definitely the new standard, the new standard when you're looking at quarterbacks. And yes, Josh Allen had a good year. Rodgers has been fantastic this year. Both MVP candidates. In as far as the new standard, I think you're looking Allen, you're looking Jackson, even though he can't do shit in the playoffs, and everybody, he's a running back, quarterback, whatever. He still has an MVP under his belt. You got Mahomes. Those are the new standards. And as far as all those guys are concerned, Mahomes has got the best record. He's the best out of all of them. As much as I don't like to admit it, he has the best of it. So he kind of is that new Brady. He is kind of the baby goat, as they're saying, as much as I hate it, but I agree with you. I think you're right on that.
Let's see him win. If he wins 6 titles, then we can talk about it, right? And it was funny. All those quarterbacks, you left Deshaun Watson out too, and it's like,
yeah.
So, yep, and I'm not saying that's not an indictment against you. It's just like the quarterback play is so good. Like you just start naming QBs off, and then it's like, oh, okay, and then you're like, oh wait, what about these guys, right? So,
I agree. And he could be better, but. I just want to bring up a good point, and I'm not raining on your Tampa Bay parade. But when you said, "Oh, let's see Mahomes get 6 titles," Brady shouldn't have 6 titles. He shouldn't. He should have 4 fucking titles.
You're right.
He should have 4. He should have lost to Atlanta. He should have lost to Seattle. But that's not him losing. That is not him losing. I don't want to say he won those games. His defense. Belichick lost those games. As great as I think Belichick is, he lost those games. We should be talking about, is Brady going to lose his 6th title? Well, he should be. He shouldn't have 6 rings. He should have 4. Which, in and of itself, don't get me wrong. In and of itself, how many times he's been there, how many rings this guy is still impressive, even if he lost those 2. I'm not trying to take away from that. But we shouldn't be talking, and we are, but we shouldn't be talking about his 7th ring right now. We should be talking about, is he going to get his 5th? Okay. And they're comparing him. Well, him and Jordan have the same amount of rings. Who's better, him or Jordan? Jordan's still better. Okay. When you look at it, Jordan, his supporting cast was 4 players. 4 players, and he was on the court 80% of the time. When you look at Brady is on the court, the field 50% of the time, maybe, and he has 10 supporting players while he's on there. And I'm not taking away from how important the quarterback is, but there's 10 other players on the field when he's there. But he doesn't play defense where Jordan had to play defense. Like, it's not even close in my mind. If he gets 7 rings, he's better than Jordan. No, he's not. There's no fucking way, because he didn't contribute enough. Now, I'm not trying to take away from the greatness he is. Maybe he's not the greatest. Maybe he is. We can debate that all day long. I'm not trying to take away from that. He is definitely in the tops, but we should not be talking about him getting the 7th. We should be talking fucking hand the goddamn ball off to Marshawn Lynch. I don't care how much you don't like him. I don't care. You made that mistake. You should have handed the goddamn ball off, and Atlanta imploded. That game was not Atlanta. That game was not New England being better. That was Atlanta showing they can implode. So those games go the right way, the way they should have, and now we're talking about a whole different situation here. I'm sorry, that was a rant. I apologize.
Well, and you look at the Super Bowls that they won: 3 points against the Rams, 3 points against Carolina, 3 points against the Eagles, 4 points. What was it? 4 points against. Now I'm drawing a blank. It's because I'm all frustrated too. But they didn't win. They weren't winning blowouts, right? They were one possession games, like you said. You know, if
the biggest win was against the Rams at 13-3.
Yeah, and you know, Atlanta laid down after 40 minutes. They just laid down. So yeah, you're exactly right. One last thing is Tampa Bay needs to run the ball. They have to run the ball. They have to run the ball. They have to run the ball. That will help them win the time of possession battle. That'll help them get Fournette involved. That'll keep Mahomes off the field. That is like the number one thing that they need to do. Like all those other things that I mentioned kind of fit underneath, but they have to run the ball successfully. If they can run the ball, champs like us, they are born to run, and they will walk off winners.
Okay. And I agree with you. I like your take on everything, and I apologize that I interrupted for my Tom Brady rant. It just gets me on fire. I apologize as a Bills fan. All right. So anyway, how does KC win this game?
Tell me how they win.
First and foremost, Chris Jones. He has to bust into that interior. He has to get Mahomes. He has to win that battle. And he has been the second best. Next to Aaron Donald, he's been the second best all year in the NFL doing so. So he has to bring his A game, which everybody brings their A game to the Super Bowl, but he has to do the best, okay? Number 2, coaching. I said it last week when KC beat Buffalo. They out-coached the shit out of Buffalo, and as much as I hate to say it, it happened, okay? They weren't outplayed. They were out-coached. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I'm just giving kudos to KC, not Buffalo sucked. I'm saying KC has to do the same thing. They have to out-coach Arians, Bowles, Leftwich. They have to. And I really think it's going to come down to, can they out-coach Bowles? That's really what it's going to come down to, because I think Tampa Bay's defense is better than KC, so they have to outcoach them. Third, you mentioned it for Tampa Bay, and I'm going to mention it, and I'm going to go the opposite way with it. KC, they have to lose the time of possession game. And what I mean by that is that it sounds wrong, but they need to score, and they need to score quick. Because the more they score quick, Tampa Bay, Brady, he's going to try to control the clock. He's going to try to make things go. And as soon as KC can figure out, I can score in 2 minutes, I can score in 3 minutes, Tampa Bay can go down and they can try to control the clock and run 10, 12 minutes off the clock, 8, 10, 12 minutes off the clock. And Tampa Bay's go, fuck it, I don't care. Run that time off the clock because I'm going to score in your ass in 2, 3 minutes. And if they can establish that, they're going to do that. It doesn't matter what Tampa Bay is going to do. It doesn't matter how it ends up. They're going to do it. So they have to control the time of clock in a negative
fashion.
Which is weird to say, but that's what has to happen.
Well, how demoralizing is it when you have an 8-minute drive and you go down the field and you get a touchdown, and then 2 minutes later the game is tied because your defense can't keep the team out of the end zone? I mean, Correct. That's super deflating for a team. I mean, the offense is the offense is like playing defense by keeping the other team's offense off the field. I mean, that's kind of how it is. So no, I see your point. Kansas City is a quick strike offense. They need to have quick strikes. So I completely agree with you there.
Matthew, the Honey Badger, he's got to have at least one pick. Okay. Jones has got to go in there and make shit happen. Matthews has got to take advantage of that and take a pick and get in Brady's head. That's going to help. Gronk, everybody say, oh, Gronk. And as much as I hate him as a Patriot and everything, he's a Buffalo boy. He grew up in Buffalo. He represents Buffalo. I love it. He even said it'd be crazy if he would have been playing Buffalo, which would have been awesome. But they've got to control him. Even though he hasn't had a great year, he hasn't whatever. If it gets to the point where Brady is struggling, he's going to go to what he knows. And what does he know best? He knows Gronk. There's nobody better in that offense. I don't care what you say. I don't care how good he knows Gronk and he's comfortable with Gronk. He is going to do it. So making Brady uncomfortable and then controlling Gronk is going to be huge. And well, Gronk hasn't done shit all year. He hasn't been a major factor. I agree with you, but he's been a factor in every single Super Bowl that Brady's been in. He's going to be one in this one too. They've got to control Gronk.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, he's been kind of a factor, though. 29 of his 45 receptions have been for first downs. So, I mean, he has been kind of a factor, but, I mean, he's not been – I mean, he's had 45 receptions, which you look at and you're like, oh, 45 receptions. But when you break it down, like you said, it's a little over 2 per game, which is not a lot. So when
which is not normal Gronk numbers.
Right, 100%. I mean, you're talking about a guy who broke 1,000 yards in receiving 4 times. So, yeah, you're totally right.
So, and the last thing I want to say, and this kind of goes back to coaching. I shouldn't say the last thing I say, but one of the last things I want to say. This goes back to coaching. I think Bruce Arians has had his best year as a head coach. And why? Because he loves Leftwich, and he's let Leftwich do it. When you heard, I don't know if you heard Palmer talk about, well, this year's been so good for Arians because, like, when Palmer was playing for him, he'd be listening his helmet, waiting for Arians to give him the call, and there's 17 seconds left on the play clock, and he hasn't gotten the call yet from Arians because Arians is yelling at the refs.
Mm-hmm.
And now that Arians has let Leftwich call the game for the most part, it's gone a lot better because Arians could just be that head coach. He can yell at them. He can go back and yell at players, talk to players, whatever. You know, I say yell at players because we all know Arians. But it's allowed him to be the head coach instead of be the head coach and worry about calling plays. So if they can get it, if Casey's defense can get it to where they're in Leftwich's head and Leftwich can't handle this and Arians has to take over, now you're going to have a lot of problems with him getting the calls into Brady. Brady doesn't like having that indecision, and it's going to go bad for them. Also, Tampa Bay, number 1 against the rush. They need to stop. What's his name? Claire Edwards, and they need to stop him, and they need to let him – once they stop him and put it all in Mahomes' hand, and not that Mahomes isn't going to be able to do it, but once it's all, they become one-dimensional, and even Mahomes can't run the ball, you got a Tampa Bay win right there.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, that's the thing, right? If they can stop the run and you make them one-dimensional, and then it's going to – you got to contain those receivers, right? You got to contain Hardman, and you got to contain Hill and Kelsey, and you know, are you even going to fire up Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield? I mean, like, it's a who's who of offensive stars. Can you pick a couple and not let them perform?
I agree. And that's what KC has to do, and they have to pick their poison and see what happens. And like I said, Jones up the middle, Matthews has to have a good game and get in Brady's head, and then that's a win for KC. We'll see what happens.
So let me ask you, because I think the general consensus of this game is that this game is going to be just a score fest, right? Like the scoreboard is going to just explode. Can Kansas City win a football game, winning a game 17-14? I mean, that's what I'm looking at here. And I'm not sure that they can.
I don't think they can. I don't think, like I said, I think KC needs to establish the fact they can score, and they can score at will, and they can do it quickly. If they can't do it quickly, I mean, and when you look at that Buffalo game, I mean, look at their playoff games. When you look at Cleveland, you look at Buffalo. Buffalo, they definitely established. Cleveland, they didn't establish that they could score at will. They look like struggling. They look tough, and that's what gave everybody so high hopes on Buffalo. That's why everybody picked Buffalo in that game, you included, me included. But then they came out in the beginning of the game, they didn't look so good, but then they started to establish, okay, yeah, I can score at will, and I'm going to, and that's where they got out-coached. And I think they can, and I think that's Reed's huge think like, hey, I have an offense where I can score on anybody, and I'm going to. Now, there is, and I don't know if you saw this. It's terrible news, and I feel terrible about it. Reed's son was in a car accident Thursday night, last night. He was in a car accident with his 4- and 5-year-old kids. 5-year-old kid is life-threatening injuries in the hospital. Okay, and I don't want to use kids. I have 3 of my own, but I know I obviously don't have grandkids because my kids are young. But I know that if that happened to me and my kids were in there, my parents, my kids' grandparents would be a fucking mess with them being in the hospital with life injury. That plays on your mind. So even though, yes, I think Reed will focus on the game, I truly believe that is going to have some effect on him. And how could it not? How can you not blame him? How could you not? And his son was the linebackers coach.
100%.
So, like, it sucks. And I'm not saying like, hey, but you have to. Once again, this is a betting strategy show, and we have to talk about all the things betting strategy. You have to take that into effect. So when you have that on your mind, when you might, it's like poker. When I play poker, I'm a very big into poker, and when I play poker, they all talk about tells. You can't tell every hand in poker. There's going to be one hand where you might catch something, and you might be able to use it one other hand, and that one other hand might be huge. This might be something where for whatever reason, something happens, somebody says something, and it triggers something in Andy Reid's head. And all of a sudden he starts thinking about his grandson being in the hospital, his son, whatever, not being there. And all of a sudden now he misses a play and they have a delay game. Now that 3rd and 2 becomes 3rd and 7. Now it changes the whole perspective of the game. So I don't like bringing it up. I don't like saying it. I don't like thinking it. It really cuts at my heart that a 5-year-old is in the hospital. But when you are betting, when you are thinking about that, you need to know everything. And that is something you need to take into consideration.
No, for sure. It's all part of the big picture, right? And the whole idea is you have to block out. There's enough distractions going on. You have to block out additional distractions. That gets to be itself a challenge for sure. The last time these two teams played, they played right after Thanksgiving. Tampa Bay lost 27-24. Patrick Mahomes went for 462 yards and 3 touchdowns, but they did get up. They did get up early and had to hang on at the end. So I don't know if that's something that's going to bode well for Kansas City or not. And it's kind of familiar because in the 3 playoff games that Tampa Bay has played, they've gotten out to leads and have had to hold on at the end, and their defense has had to make stops to win. So that also comes into play.
Well, and you also wonder is, Arians is no risk and no biscuit, go big or go home, but he's not calling the plays. Leftwich is. So at that point, maybe Leftwich has been too conservative, and maybe Arians has talked to him about it and said, "Hey, we can't get conservative at the end. You've gotten conservative, and it's almost cost us games, and we got to do it." And maybe Arians takes over. Who knows? But we'll see. Only time will tell. All right, let's get into our bets.
Let's do it. Remember, this is purely for entertainment purposes. We don't guarantee anything that we any win that we predict. It's all for fun. So we want you to take Vegas for as much as you can. So good luck as you're betting. But these are some things that we're putting out there.
We're trying to help you, and we're trying to give you information and our thoughts. And if it doesn't work out, we're sorry. We're trying to help, and we're not guaranteeing it. But this is just our research, and we're just trying to give you something to think about, different aspects to think about. So first bet is the exact same bet. And just so you guys know, we put together a script before we're doing this, and we put our bets on there, and then we look at it and go, okay, let's talk about these or whatever. We both literally put the same bet without even knowing. It's when you show up to work and you're dressed up the same as somebody else, you're like, Man, did you text me and tell that? It's the same type of thing. Like, we didn't know we were doing it. So our first bet, we are both going with a teaser. We are taking Tampa Bay and the over. Now, Tampa Bay is +9. This game, we told you what it takes to win. Personally, I still am not decided who I think is going to win and who I want to win. Okay, and that may be two different teams. I'm my hatred for Brady, but I would love to see the first home team ever win their first home game. But I hate Brady. So I haven't technically made up my mind yet, but here's what I have made up. It's going to be a close game. Whether it is at 17-14 or it's 42-40. Like, it's going to be a close game. So I think anybody getting 9 points either way, whether it's KC or Tampa, it's too much. So I'm going to originally it's 3. I'm going to tease that up to 9. Now, originally, I was going to tease this up and take the under because originally the line started out, the over-under started out at 57. So when you tease it down, now you're saying over. And I really think you're looking at a 50, 51, 52 game. It's really what I think. It's going to be in that range. So when I saw it has dropped down now to 55.5, and I can drop that down to 49.5, I am absolutely going to take that. I'm going to take the over. Now, had it not dropped below 56, then I would have teased it up and take the under. But I really think you're looking, and even still, if I would have teased it up and take the under, I would be a winner as well, I believe, because like I said, I think it's going to be in the low 50s as a total. But I just, like you said many times before, it's easier to root for points than it is to root for not points. So that's why I went over 49.5. Now, I'm taking $30. Oh, it looks like he's taking $30 as well. We're both taking $30. It's going to win us 27, and we both think that's good bets. Anything to add to that one?
No, I think you nailed it, man. It's going to be. I really think it's going to be a close game. Vegas thinks it's going to be a close game, so why not tease that up? Take the opportunity to tease it up and guarantee you a little bit more protection there, right? Just in case it's a 7-point game. If you're taking Tampa Bay +9 and Kansas City wins 34-27, you're still a winner. So I fully agree with your strategy here. I like Tampa Bay +9. I like the over as well. And the over unders, it's like the under is always covering, right, until it doesn't. But then the under can't come back and win. Yeah. So it's one of those things. I would rather root for points, and you got two quarterbacks who are going to light it up, I think. So
yeah. And if you look at the past scores, KC just put up 30+ on Buffalo, who was scoring a ton of points and not allowing a lot of points, and all of a sudden they exploded. Tampa Bay has been scoring 30+ in their playoff. Yeah. So like it just makes a lot of sense to do that.
The other thing too, Kaus, is just to jump in there real quick and I'm looking at it from the other side too, is that Tampa Bay, although their defense is really good against the run, in fact, their defense has won the games for them, I think, a lot more so than Brady has won the games, because when they needed a stop in that Green Bay game, the defense came up with a stop. When they needed to stop the momentum in the Saints game, the defense came up with a stop. It was kind of like a bend, not break. But, I mean, the totals in those games, 54 against Washington, 50 against the Saints, 57 against Green Bay. This screams tease down and take the over.
I agree 100%. All right, next I'm turning to so that's for me, and it might be for you, the only kind of quote-unquote normal bet where we're talking about Tampa Bay +3 or +9 or the over-under. The rest are all prop bets of some sort. But last week we did prop bets that had nothing to do with the game for the most part. Now we're going to talk about prop bets that too. I am taking JPP. His tackles and assists is over 3.5. I think he's going to have a great game. They are number one against the rush. KC is going to try to develop the rush, whether it be with Mahomes, whether it be with Leclerc. Doesn't matter who. They're going to try to establish a rush that's going to get him his 3 to 4 tackles. He might have a sack. They need to sack him. They need to sack Mahomes to win. So I'm going to take over 3.5. My $10 is going to win me 21.
Hey, I'm down with JPP. Yeah, you know me. That's a great bet. My first prop is I'm taking kind of one of those goofy spread bets. I'm picking Tampa Bay to win the game by 1 to 13 points, and my $25 will nearly double, get me 49 back. So Tampa Bay wins the game. They win by anywhere from 1 to 13 points. I'm a winner. They win this game 31 to 17. That's 14 points, and I don't win this bet. But I think I'm going back to, I think it's going to be a close game. I have a little bit of wiggle room there going up to 13, but Tampa Bay has to win, and I think they're going to win. And I really like the plus money on this. This was plus 198. I really like that with Tom Brady getting plus money at, quote, home. I really like that bet.
I agree. I think that's a good. I shouldn't say I think that's a good bet. I think whether you take KC or Tampa Bay they call it a big little bet. So you're taking the little between 1 and 13. The big is 14 plus. I like the little bet. No matter who you like, whether you like KC or you like Tampa Bay, take the little between 1 and 13 because I agree with you. I don't think anybody is going to win by more than two touchdowns or more. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, your bigger plus money is on Tampa Bay. I think when I looked, I think KC was plus 125 or 139 or something like that. So it wasn't as good of money. So Tampa Bay is definitely your better bet. And really, I think this is a coin toss game, so I think that's a good bet. Why not try to almost double your money and take the team that's worth the most?
For sure, for sure. All right, let's see what you got next.
All right, I'm doubling up on JPP. His sacks now, this is just straight sacks, is over 0.5. Now, look, Mahomes is not notorious for getting sacked. However, he does get sacked. And what happens is he's back in the pocket, holding it, trying to toss it, and he gets sacked. What it is he tries to runs out of room, tries to run around a little bit, and then all of a sudden somebody pulls him down. And I think that's going to be JPP, and I think that's what's going to happen because it's over 0.5. So in other words, he either gets a sack or he doesn't. And I mean, okay, sacks, yes, you can get a half a sack. So technically I could push on this, which makes this even better because even if he doesn't get the sack himself, he could get a half a sack and then I push. So I don't lose my money. But I think he could get that sack, and it's 10 to win 21. So I'm going to push or I'm going to win. Either way, I'm not a loser. I'm going to take that all day long.
I really like this bet, House, because it ties in with your first bet. And so I like the intertwining of the two of the action there. And yeah, this is, I mean, the plus money on that is fantastic. One of the things that Tampa Bay has to do is they have to put pressure on Mahomes and they have to contain him. And you're right. Mahomes may drop back in the pocket 15 yards and may run forward 12 yards and get tackled, but he's still 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's still a sack. So,
Agreed.
So that's a really good one. I went to offense on my prop bet, and I said that there would be a score in the first 4.5 minutes of the game. That is at plus 170. So my $10 will win 17. I really, really like this if Kansas City gets the ball first. But if Tampa gets the ball first, I could still see it happening a little, as I think Madden used to say, matriculate the ball down the field type of situation where, 5 yards here, 7 yards there, 10 yards here, 4 yards, and before you know it, Fournette's in the end zone. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the first four. So by 10:30 remaining in the first quarter, I'm counting on a score.
Well, here's why I like this bet. Regardless of who wins the coin toss, and this kind of goes back to our prop bets last week, I said there isn't going to be a score that is less than the anthem. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anthem over under is 2 minutes. I don't think there's going to be a score less than 2 minutes, but 4:30, that's double the anthem. And I think that's a good thing. And the anthem really has nothing to do with that. I'm just trying to tie it back to my bets. But KC, like I said earlier, they're going to try to score. They're going to try to score quick and show they can. I think Tampa Bay, if they get the ball to start with, they're going to do the same thing to try to score quick and show KC they're not the only ones that can do it. Okay, I really think that's going to happen. But on top of that, look at what happened KC Buffalo. If KC gets the ball and Tampa holds them, KC kicks it. Tampa kicks. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Last week, KC had the ball. Buffalo stopped them. KC kicked it, or vice versa. I'm drunk. Sorry. Either way, Buffalo got the ball at the 2-yard line and they scored.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the first person who had the ball didn't score, they scored off of a punt fumble recovery. So that's why I like 4:30 in the game, because even if, okay, they get a first down, and then they punt, they might go 12 and out. But that could lead to a fumble, getting the ball, interception, getting whatever. I like this bet a lot.
Well, and the other thing too is it's a score. It doesn't say it has to be a touchdown. It is a score. So it could be, like you said, a turnover that leads to a field goal. It could be a safety. It could be anything. It could be an interception return for a touchdown. It's a score. If I get that score in the first 4.5 minutes, I'm a winner.
Agreed. So
maybe it can tie into your next bet. By the way, we'll see.
So my next bet kind of goes with what I was saying on something could happen crazy.
Mm-hmm.
TB12 getting an interception. Now, I bet it 3 weeks ago, won.
Mm-hmm.
Bet it last week, lost. I'm betting it again.
Well, he had picks last week, so
yeah, it's just he can go and not throw a pick. I just don't think I think under Arians, where Arians let him doing his thing, let him try this, let him try that, no risk, no risk, go. There's too many things that could go wrong, especially with the Honey Badger on the other side. Mm-hmm. I think a pick happens. It's only 20 to win 10, so Vegas thinks it's going to happen. So I just think that's a money bet, and I don't see how he. I think the chances of him throwing an interception are greater than Mahomes throwing an interception. So I'm going to put my money on Brady throwing an interception.
I think it's a great bet, and something that I've learned in researching this game is, you know, how sometimes when a quarterback will throw a ball deep, he throws up a 50-50 ball. So either like one of them is going to get it, or the offense or defense is going to get it.
Hoping for pass interference, really.
Right. Well, on third down, and this happened twice in the Green Bay game, Brady threw a deep pass that was intercepted by the Packers. It's like but it's not a 50-50 ball. They call it like a 30-30, 33-33 ball, where it's either a completion,
catch, pick, or incomplete.
Exactly. And if it's an interception, it's just like a punt.
Yep.
And that happened twice against Green Bay. I have no reason to believe that it won't happen again.
I agree. So what do you got next for me?
Next, I'm going to the kicking game. I think the first field goal will be between 37 and 43 yards. It's a plus 300 bet. I only put $5 on it to win 15 just because it seemed like kind of a hokey bet, but I really like it. And it's just something to kind of keep me interested in the kicking game. Maybe hope for that first. Maybe it ties into my first score bet being in the first 4.5 minutes. So if they get between the 20 and the 26 yard line, that drive stalls and it's the first field goal, I can be a winner.
Well, and I agree. And this is this is almost like last week, where it's like you don't have to know anything and bet on this and see if it happens, because we really don't know. Could either KC or Tampa Bay, could they fizzle out at the 35-yard line? Could they make it to the 20-yard line? Like, if they make it to the 20-yard line, now this is under it. If they make it to the 25, now it's over. Like, you got 5-yard difference there where they could fizzle out and not get it, and all of a sudden they never got to the red zone, and they get it, but they got to the red zone and they didn't get a touchdown. Now they have to kick a field goal. So I'm glad you're only putting $5 down on it. I understand why you're doing it, is because it's so much plus money. You're getting 3-1 on your money. Like, that's huge, and I get it. It's just, to me, this is a coin flip. There's nothing to do it. And here's part of the reason I kind of like this is, you already said it once, the weather could be a factor. So do I think they're going to try to kick field goals more than 43 yards? It might happen. They might not have a choice, but I think because of the weather being a factor, they're going to try not to. Okay, because once you get over that 45-yard, now we got way more of a weather holding a factor, and where under 40, they might be able to kick through that. So I like that from that aspect of it, but who knows how far that first drive is going to go.
Exactly.
They might get all the way to the red zone and fizzle out. Who knows?
Yep, exactly. And you're 100% right. I looked at this prop. I'm like, it's really good plus money. I don't want to spend a lot of money on it, but it's kind of fun, kind of goofy. Let's throw 5 on it, see what happens. And you never know, right?
I agree.
All right, let's talk about more offense. I like offense.
So my next 2 bets are the same bet for the different teams. Okay, both could win, and it's very easy. First quarter touchdown by KC. Over under 0.5. How many are you going to score in the first quarter? Both teams are coming out and they're going to try to score a lot. So KC is going to try to score as soon as they have the ball, whether they have it first or whether they have it second. And even if we say, Tampa Bay takes 8-10 minutes, KC is going to try to score by the end of the first quarter to make a statement right back at them. So I'm going to say that KC is going to score over a half a touchdown, basically 1 or none is your options here. And I'm going to say they're going to score 1 in the first quarter. My 10 is only going to win me 8. So it's not terrible minus money. Because I just think I think both teams are going to score in the first quarter, which my next prop bet will be the same. But I just think they're both going to try to come out and make a statement in the first quarter.
Yeah, I think so too. And Vegas thinks so too. A lot of people think this is going to be a huge scoring game, and why not start early, right? I really like this. And like you said, it's a first quarter TD, so it can happen anytime in the first quarter, and they only need to get 1 for you to win.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Your next bet I'm not too keen on. What do you got next?
I've got Tom Brady throwing exactly 3 touchdowns in this game. My $10 will win 27, and that's basically based on past performance, because in the last 3 playoff games he's thrown 3, 2, and 3, and so I figured 3 is a good number for him. So, but the interesting thing about this bet, Kaus, is that he has to throw exactly 3. So if he goes and gets 4, I'm done, right? So,
excuse me, and that's where I worry about this bet for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if he throws 3 Ds, that 3 TDs, and granted, okay, they can run. Fournette can run for a TD or whatever, but you're looking at 21 points for the passing game. 21 points. If you look at an over of 55.5, that means you're saying KC is going to win, by 14. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden your bets kind of go against each other. So yes, Fournette can score a rushing touchdown, maybe even 2. But I think this is going to fall more on Brady. Mm-hmm. And I honestly, as much as I hate to admit it, I think he's going to get more than this. So I'm not a huge – I love the plus money on it. That's really what I love. I love the plus money on it. And why not take a shot? He gets 3 TDs, like you said, past performance. That's what's happened. I just think, especially being home, first home quarterback, his 10th appearance, trying to get his 7th ring, more than anybody else ever in history in any other sport. Like, I think they're going to put a lot on Tom Brady, and I think he wants to score the most. So I don't know that 3 is going to be enough, but I hope for your sake it is.
I hope so too. I hope it's going to be tough, man. But I see this game kind of going like the Green Bay game a lot. The Tampa Bay getting out early and then holding on at the end. And 3 was enough last week, so we'll see what happens, right?
I agree.
This kind of ties into your bet, because yours was the Tampa Bay.
So my last bet I just did was KC scores in the first quarter. I'm saying that Tampa Bay is going to score in the first quarter too. I'm almost saying that it's going to be 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. Now, my Super Bowl scores haven't screwed me, but either way, I think both teams are going to score at least 1 touchdown in the first quarter. Because like I said already, they're both going to come out, try to score, try to make a statement. I think Tampa Bay is going to take longer. I think KC's will be shorter, but I think they both score. And it's good. That's, once again, 10 is going to win 8. That's going to lead to my over as well. So that's why I'm going there.
That's beautiful. I love that. And that actually factors a little bit, just a little bit into my next bet. My next bet's another one of those goofy prop bets. I think that the number of points scored in this game will be greater than the number of points scored in Super Bowl 51. That was the overtime Super Bowl. That was 34-28 Patriots. It was plus 170. So my 10 will win me $17. And this just goes back to, I think it's going to be a score-a-thon. I think it's just going to be points up and down the field. The downside to this is, Kaus, like you mentioned before, is Brady may have to throw more than 3 touchdowns, and that may cost me my other $10. But 62
You'll win it back.
Yeah, and that's 35-31, and I'm a winner. But I mean, that's a lot of points. Yeah, but we're expecting to see a lot of points on Sunday.
Correct. When we're expecting one thing, it's almost like, dude, this is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. Kind of like we put all our chips in Buffalo, and that didn't happen. That kind of worries me a little bit. I hate when that happens, but whatever. It is what it is, and we have our feelings. All right, so going with my last 2 bets, I'm going to triple down on them.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, in what quarter is the first touchdown? Well, it's going to be the first. I just said both teams are going to score the first touchdown. So even if I'm wrong on both of them scoring, I think one of them is going to, and this is going to, okay, my $10 is only going to win me 2 because Vegas thinks there's going to be a first quarter score by a lot. So if you're paying attention, 10 is going to win me 2 here. 10 is going to win me 8 if one of the teams scores. Doesn't matter what. So if one of the teams scores in the first quarter, no matter what, I'm even.
Yeah.
So I'm getting my $10 and an extra 10 back for the other bet if the other team doesn't score. So no matter what, I'm even. It's almost hedging my bet, and that's why I did those 3 consecutive. That was my strategy there. My strategy was, okay, if KC scores and Tampa doesn't, I'm still getting the score in the first quarter. I'm going to get 20 back. I bet 10. I'm going to lose 10. I'm even. And same thing if Tampa, I'm even. So that's why I did that. That was my strategy there, was doing that. And if all 3 hit, if both score in the first quarter, then all 3 hit, I'm up 10. So, that's now the only way I lose this, the only way this is terrible, if nobody scores a touchdown in the first quarter. If nobody scores a touchdown in the first quarter, I'm screwed. But I seriously think at least one team is going to.
I think you're right. I fully agree with you. I think somebody's getting a touchdown in that first quarter. Hopefully both of them do. That would be exciting. I think because I have 7-7 in the squares. My last bet is total rushes by McCole Hardman over 0.5. It's $10 to win 11. I know Kansas City loves to run that end around play to him, or they would give him just the inside pitch, and then he'll go around the end. If he does that once in the game, I'm a winner.
I agree. I think that's a huge bet, and I like that the only thing I could see going wrong for you there is, hey, Watkins hasn't played enough. We're going to give it to Watkins because he hasn't been around. That's the only thing I could see going wrong for you there. But I still think even if they give it to him, they still give it to Hardman. And I think he does one of those. Mm-hmm. Even if Watkins does 5, I think Hardman does 1. So I think you're good there. And even keep in mind, this is a rush, so it doesn't have to be an end around. It could be a wildcat. It could be a double reverse. It could be all sorts of different things that could go here. So I like this bet. I think it's a money bet.
Yeah, and they love to get Tyreek Hill running the ball. So and recently, even I think it was even in the Bills game or the previous game to that when he had the fumble. And yeah, it was the Browns game when he had the fumble, and then they came back. There's like, you know what? We're going back to the well. We're giving it to you again, and you're going to do the right thing, and you're going to show us.
Right. That was the Bills game when he fumbled the punt.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what it was. But they have the utmost confidence in him, and I just see that play. They'll bring it out sometime in the game.
I agree. Sure. I think this is a money bet, and I can't believe this is plus money. I was definitely surprised when I looked at that on their script. I go, what? He's plus money? Really? Mm-hmm. But I think that's a money bet, and why wouldn't you take it? So
for sure.
I'm good on that. All right, that is our Super Bowl bets.
Those are them.
That's what we're putting on this. I wish we had more time to go through everything we were thinking about, but it is what it is. Remember, subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. Tell your friends. Guys, we love this. This is so much fun for us. We're not getting paid. We just enjoy sitting on a Friday, drinking some beer, having some fun, talking some football, talking some bets. Next week, we're going to return. Obviously, no football. We're going to talk hockey. We're going to talk basketball. We might even talk some futures in baseball. So we're switching gears. So don't tune out just because football is done. we're still here. We're going to talk about your betting strategies here, so that we can do. So make sure you're hitting us up, asking us, and all of that. And once again, a reminder that this is just for entertainment value. We don't guarantee anything here. We hope that you are gambling responsibly. We hope you're having fun. We hope you're taking Vegas for what's worth, and we hope our suggestions made you think. Okay, we hope we make you money, but even if not, we hope that you do your research and you take into account what we say and see what happens. Okay,
sounds good, House. I'll see
Tony,
you at the window, brother.
I'll see you at the window. I love you, brother. You have a great week. Have fun watching the Super Bowl.
All right, you too, my man. See you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.